All right, everyone. Welcome to Deep Dives with Dogs. Well, today's topic is the Franco-Prussian War. In my opinion, probably the most important war in the last 200 years. Definitely not in world history. And that's debatable. You could say World War One, World War Two, both also big contenders. Really, it's hard to say because a lot of wars obviously predate the others, and it's always this. But the reason I put this war as so important and all that is, one, the ending of this war will result in a unified Germany and a destruction of French hegemony in Europe. Those are big deals. France, since basically the fall of Rome, has been the European power. If you want to look at European powers, you look at France. Now, obviously, the British Isles, the British Empire, all that, it does rise. But on continental Europe, there is no contender to France. France is like the largest nation in continental Europe. It is by far one of the most powerful. And like I said, since the fall of Rome, it has been pretty much the power. Now there was a little bit more, Byzantium, which is still Rome, but that's a whole other thing. But either way, you will have a lot of that being usurped by Germany. Germany will become the most powerful nation probably in the world. Really not that debatable. Has a very large and professional standing army, very powerful standing army. You have the German states being unified for really the first time ever. People would say, oh, well, Germany was kind of unified under the HRE, the Holy Roman Empire. Not quite. It is technically, Jasper's got a little issues there, I guess. It is technically a unified nation in the very strictest sense of the word, but it's not really. The HRE was a lot of kingdoms that were all kind of agreeing on who's their emperor, but they weren't necessarily one nation. It's something we kind of get confused of today, but HRE is a whole mess. This is the first time Germany will really be a thing. And it's pretty important. Germany, after the fall of the HRE, that the German states had kind of fallen really in prominence besides Prussia. Prussia is the one, obviously, that kind of forms this power. Some thought maybe Austria would do it, and Austria was actually thought of joining Germany at one point. It just doesn't work out, doesn't happen. That's once again a whole other thing. But this war, the Franco-Prussian War, will give rise to that Germany. The Germany that will be the prominent power in World War I. The power that is able to survive as long as they are by themselves, basically, in World War I. You will have the French giving such harsh demands to the Germans after World War I and leading to World War II. You don't really get a lot of that stuff without this war, the Franco-Prussian War. This war is one of those that's not necessarily taught about as much because those other wars are so impactful in their times. World War I, it was the Great War. It was the war to end all wars, all this stuff. World War II is the largest war in human history in terms of people fighting, not necessarily in terms of percentages fighting. But that's all. Yeah. But the Franco-Prussian War is very, very important. It kind of gets forgotten about. It gets left in the weeds of history. Now, not necessarily by the French, probably, or the Germans. Especially not by the Germans. I mean, I don't know why they would ever probably want to not talk about this war. It's pretty important to their history. But I know in the States, at least, it's not talked about nearly as much as it should be. It's maybe a chapter, if that even. And that's really unfortunate. It should be. This war is one of those forgotten important wars. There's a lot of those in the late 1800s. These very important wars that just kind of get forgotten about because bigger, more maybe impactful wars to some people will happen, for instance, will happen. are happening. That Russo-Japanese War, another one I would point to. But either way, never ever forget the Franco-Prussian War. We get a rise to Germany and kind of a downgrading of France, which is pretty important. But that's going to do it for this video. If you guys like the video, leave a like. If you have anyone who's got to improve on these videos, leave a comment down below. I would always appreciate your feedback. And as always, subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Thank you.